You're listening to Fairfield County Talk Radio, produced by Sharc Creative and made possible by our title sponsor, Tough Lawn Service and Fairfield County Tick Control. Thank you, Lisa, and to your entire team. Also, MDM Sanitation, Professional Water Systems, Apollo X Pest Control, and Rock Landscaping. Well, this is Unique Business Perspectives, spotlighting the businesses that surround us, offering us interesting insights and takeaways. And today's spotlight is with Andrew Hurlbut, the Vice President of Professional Water Systems, home water treatment specialist, water filtration, water softening, reverse osmosis, radon mitigation, and more. Andrew, it's great to have you here. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Fairfield County Talk Radio.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Andrew, I've gotten to know you ever since I moved to Wilton like a decade ago. And, I've gotten to experience your business, Professional Water Systems. And I was just saying earlier to you a little bit as we were preparing, it's very helpful to have somebody like yourself and your company in your corner. I mean, if you live here in Fairfield County, you're more than likely on well water. And unless that's what you do, you don't really know enough about it. And you need to have someone who can help you navigate, no pun intended here, through the waters, right? I mean, there's so much that goes into well water and managing well water. And that's why we wanted to put this unique perspective out there so that folks who might be listening can learn from you and kind of, look out for what they need to know as a homeowner. So let's just dive right in, Andrew. Could you help somebody understand, if you're about to buy a home, what do you need to look out for when it comes to your water system? And I know there's probably a lot of ways you can take this because there's so much to it, but what would be the real red flags that people should look out for when they're buying a home?
So, I mean, first, it would be part of your home inspection when you're going through the purchasing process of a home. The home inspector is offering water testing as part of their purview for purchasing homes. You would want to make sure that the inspector is offering that. If not, then you can reach out to a company like ourselves that offers water testing as part of sale of homes. On well water in Connecticut, there's a wide variety of issues that we deal with in the area, especially Fairfield County. So you want to make sure you're informed about what the potential issues are. So even talking to a professional like ourselves, we can guide you through the process. So that's the water quality aspect. And that report that is produced from the testing is really going to be the tell-all as for, are there health issues? Are there concerns with the mineral content of the water or other properties of water that would also not only be potential health issues, but create issues with the plumbing structure, which is really 90% of what we do as a company is offering treatment if treatment's not in place, or assessing existing treatment to make sure all the issues are being addressed. So you're protecting your investment, which is the plumbing structure and the fixtures of the home. Then, the safety issues that may come up because standards change over the course of time, right? Mm-hmm. So what was not an issue 15, 20 years ago could be an issue that is an issue now. For an example, in our area of, Fairfield County, we deal with arsenic and uranium in well water. And so these weren't even on the radar 7-8 years ago. And so a homeowner could have been in the house 10 years ago, purchased the home, no issues. And now it comes up because it's now being tested for. It's always been here. It just wasn't being monitored.
What would be the reason for that? Like, why would that be the case 7 or 8 years ago? Now, all of a sudden, it's changed. What caused it?
It's state kind of driven. Every state has different thresholds. We have a federal guideline from the Safe Drinking Water Act that's really specific to public water systems, but really private well water systems, we kind of use those same standards, but those thresholds change over the course of time as, studies change about the thresholds that can cause safety concerns. So arsenic, for example, was a limit of 1.0 parts per million, and now I think it's 10 parts per billion is the new threshold. Wow. So it's a much more stringent threshold. And so those things kind of change. And so one of the things that we kind of really are emphasizing as a company for private well owners is to test your water on a regular basis. But going back to the purchasing process, inspectors, as we know, are trying to be a jack of all trades and kind of give you the assessment of all the things in the home, but generally are rarely experts on specific things. So when it comes to water treatment, it's not a bad idea to have, a well pump professional come in to examine the well side of the equation, a water treatment company like ourselves that specifically handles water treatment, examine the filtration that's in place, if there is treatment in place. What are the red flags, like you asked previously? We would look at the filtration itself. We would want to make sure that, if a purchaser is buying a home with treatment present, that they have access to or can ask for access to the service records of the treatment system. Is it being maintained properly? These systems aren't one and done types of things. They need to be maintained to perform to standards to filter the water to the ranges that we wanted it filtered to. So has it been maintained properly? From a physical or visual inspection, something that inspectors are capable of doing is, there are obvious red flags. Is there corrosion? Does the system look old? Is there mildew on it? These are kind of signs that, because these systems, we're in basements in Connecticut, right? So humidity, they condensate over the summertime because of the humidity levels. Basements aren't conditioned spaces, so you can get kind of mildew buildup on the tanks themselves. Not the end of the world, but it's a sign that, most professionals that come in and service these things are cleaning those things on a regular basis. So, if you do see these kind of things, they are kind of red flags that maybe the system's not being maintained on a regular basis.
So there's service involved. I mean, you definitely want to maintain, a service kind of contract or something, so you can protect this investment, right? Because I look at my house, I know there's like a lot of things going on down there.
Absolutely.
There's not just one tank; it's like 4 or 5 different tanks.
We have a combination. A lot of homes in our area have a combination of issues. So it might not just be a water softener; it could be a neutralizer and a water softener. As you mentioned in your previous home, we deal with radon in water. Those systems require annual maintenance, not only for their longevity purpose, but to make sure that they're reducing the radon correctly and protecting you as a homeowner. So those are the kind of things that, when we're going through the purchasing process, first is the water test. And, we do have standards. So if anything's outside of standards, it's usually flagged on a report and brought to your attention. And then if there's treatment there that's in place, does the test show that the system's working correctly? We know that if a certain application is in place, we know what we expect the results should show us. And if it doesn't, okay, is that a service issue? Is it a shelf life issue? Meaning, is the system beyond its, expected service life and it just can't perform anymore? That type of stuff.
Got it. You mentioned radon filtration. Radon is a scary word, right? You hear radon, and we have lots of radon here in Connecticut. It's in the rock, and most often it's equated to the air, right? And many homes here have a radon system that mitigates the radon through the air and out the top of the home. But what about the water? I know personally we ran into this in my previous home, and you helped me with that. Could you explain to our audience, what does that look like? How does that work? What is it actually doing? I know there's sort of a pressure system that pushes the water through and mitigates the radon. Could you explain how that works?
As you mentioned, most people are familiar with radon in air or airborne radon in basements, and you have the systems that evacuate the air from underneath the slab and out through a pipe up through the roof line. But it also can be trapped in the water because radon is essentially a byproduct of uranium in the bedrock well. And when uranium decays, radon is one of those byproducts and it gets trapped in the water. And so your exposure to radon in water is primarily when you're showering, because you're in an enclosed area, water becomes steam and you're inhaling that steam. So the information tells us that prolonged exposure with elevated levels in the water, it can increase your chances of lung cancer, just like airborne radon would be. So how do we deal with it? Connecticut has a suggested advisory level of we measure radon in picocuries per liter. So Connecticut has a suggested action level of 5,000 picocuries of radon in water. So if you're over that threshold, they recommend mitigation. We have 2 mitigation techniques, one for levels between 5,000 and 10,000 picocuries. And as in your previous home, if it's over 10,000 picocuries, we have this aeration process. So at the lower levels, when we use these carbon absorption systems, essentially the water passes through these cylinders. The cylinders absorb the radon. They give you what's called variable reduction, which is very key to understand that, meaning after a system's installed or serviced, your rate of reduction is very high. But as you use water as a household throughout the course of time, the reduction percentage diminishes. And so on those carbon systems, we have to replace the carbon annually to ensure that we're getting good reduction and keeping it under that 5,000 threshold. That's the health advisory level. With the aeration systems, why we use them over levels of 10,000 picocuries is because we get 99% reduction 100% of the time. So there's no reduction to diminish that over the course of time. And in Connecticut, we can deal with levels as high as 1 million picocuries in the water. So we do see some extremely high levels depending in areas of Fairfield County and in the state. How the aeration systems work is, for lack of better terms, is we're bubbling the water. We're actually infusing air into the water, and the gases assimilate, radon being a gas, and then we have a vent pipe like an air system that evacuates that radon gas out of the house. And usually we're following the same vent code guidelines as air systems. There's technically not a code for water system venting because water systems are only on when the water is being used, right? Where an air system is evacuating air from the slab 100% of the time. But we always try to follow the same standards whenever possible. And so during that aeration process, like you mentioned before, we're actually depressurizing the water to aerate it, and then we're repressurizing it to the house. So one of the other benefits of the radon in water aeration systems is not only are we doing a better job evacuating the radon from the water, we're generally providing the homeowner with a little bit better pressure, which is, most people like better pressure for showering and bathing, that type of stuff.
Great. Again, you're listening to Fairfield County Talk Radio. I'm here with Vice President Andrew Hurlbut of Professional Water Systems, and we're just covering things that you need to know when you purchase a home or when you're in your home. And, you don't have to have a degree in chemistry. You could just call Professional Water Systems and they can help you out with all these different situations that you come across. One other thing that comes up a lot, Andrew, is the actual the water itself, right? Is it hard or is it soft or whatever? And you can put in systems that help with that. What are the advantages of having softer water compared to harder water? I know, my wife talks about how her hair feels after a shower if the water was, I guess, too hard, as opposed to if you have some softener in there, it kind of feels a little better, unless it's too soft and then the soap doesn't come out of the hair and it gets too silky. What can you explain in layman's terms what?
Yeah, so that's the old kind of feeling about hard water versus soft water. There is kind of a misconception out there that water can be too soft. We measure hardness in grains per gallon, and some people that aren't used to soft water are transitioning from a municipal water, which might have a low level of hardness but is not zero. When they come into a house that has a water softener and they start showering with the water, it feels like the common description is like you can't get the soap off. And what actually is happening is your body oils are now actually coming to surface because the pores of your skin are no longer clogged with the minerals. And so it's actually very healthy. Yes. It's actually very healthy for people that have predisposition to dry skin or eczema types of conditions. So that's kind of the day-to-day factor with soft water versus hard water. When you have hard water, it can dry out your skin because the minerals clog the pores of your skin, clog the follicles of your hair. And, a common complaint amongst women actually with soft water is that, their hair may fall naturally limp, where with hard water, the hardness clogs the follicles and often can give the hair the illusion of body that it may not normally have. So they might have to use more product in a soft water scenario than with a hard water scenario. So those are some of the conversations I have with people over the course of time as they get used to soft water. Generally, most people get used to soft water, but often we can blend a little bit of hardness back into the water depending on other properties to find that balance for people that have a tough time getting used to it.
But if I'm hearing you right, it is better to have soft water for you.
It is better to have soft water.
It's healthier to have soft water versus hard
for the
water.
skin.
Yeah.
But the main reason why we're concerned about hard water, which is a measurement of calcium and magnesium in the water, is these minerals are the first things that want to come out of solution when you heat water or when water evaporates. And why it's problematic is the heating element of the hot water tank and the associated plumbing to and from the hot water tank. Basically, when the hardness precipitates out under heat, it clogs it like an artery. So now the heating element has to penetrate this scale buildup to create heat on the water, or to convect heat onto the water. So it's working harder. You lose efficiency. You can lose pressure, and it can actually rot the fittings in the tank out from the inside out over the course of time. So you're shortening its service life.
Right.
Same thing with a dishwasher. So those are your long-term problems where you're shorting the life and efficacy of those appliances or utilities in your home. Your other day-to-day nuisance factors is, you get the white calcium deposits on your shower heads, your fixtures, darker surfaces that the water's in contact with. You get a white residue that's left behind, watermarks, glasses in the dishwasher could come out cloudy. So those are your day-to-day nuisance factors.
Okay. So putting the nuisance aside and everything else, at the end of the day, guys, soft water, better. Hard water, not so good for yourself, for your health, and for your appliances, and for the longevity of your investment in whatever it is you need to make your house more efficient when it comes to water solutions. Andrew, well, let's leave with one thought. What might be like one of the worst situations you've ever seen? And what kind of resolution would you have recommended or could have been prevented had they had a nice little consultation with you prior to that problem?
So, we actually just ran across, and we do have this happen quite frequently over the course of time, is, people call after they have a problem. And actually in Wilton a few weeks ago, we had a gentleman who went away on vacation, and one of the hoses to his second floor washing machine, the feed valve corroded out and broke, and he was out of town. And so basically he had a faucet essentially running water from the top floor of his house,
oh boy,
all the way down into his basement. So I was there the other day. The water mold mitigation specialists were there from, trying to dry out the place. You're talking about wood floors being warped, sheetrock having to be ripped down. He actually kind of knew he had a hard water issue. His water was also a little acidic, which means the pH is low. And he just kind of lived with it, with the day-to-day nuisance factors. But, again, those are the day-to-day things. The long-term issue is it rots your plumbing out from the inside. And so now he's moved out of the house. He's got fans everywhere. He came back to this mess. So he's displaced out of his home. And now we did a full water report. Sure enough, water's hard, pH is low. He actually has some radon in his water because we suggested testing for that because he'd never tested for it. And so we are putting a system in to address those issues. But that is your nightmare scenario. Yeah. So another thing I would recommend to homeowners, which is kind of a new thing, and you may get an insurance benefit from it as well through your home insurance providers. Now they offer these leak detection systems. They measure flow. You can control them usually from a smart app on your phone, that if there's an issue, you can it'll shut off the water of the house to avoid these nightmare scenarios. Ultimately, that's just a Band-Aid, right? If you have these water quality issues, they should be addressed long-term because, again, it's about protecting your investment.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Andrew, thanks for sharing that. I feel bad for
I felt really
the guy that you're talking about there, but I guess, these things can be avoided, and it really is a big deal. When you're buying a home, there's so many things to consider, but you gotta be looking at that water because you're dealing with it every day. And there's so many different things that can go wrong. Andrew Hurlbut, it's been a pleasure getting to get into the weeds here with you a little bit. with professional water systems. How can someone get in touch with you, by the way? What's the best place to go to? Can they go to your website?
You can go to our website. Our local number is 203-431-6897. I mean, half of what I do all day is really just inform people on what's going on. I'm happy to do that, whether I get business out of it or not. I'm happy to give people information so they can make good decisions. I'm in front of my computer all day, on the phone all day, happy to help.
Great. Well, Andrew, thanks so much for that. Again, you've been listening to Fairfield County Talk Radio, produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by Tough Lawn Service, some other friends over at MDM Sanitation, Professional Water Systems, Apollo X Pest Control, and Rock Landscaping. Make sure to subscribe under YouTube at Sharc Creative for locally inspired stories and spotlights just like this one. And you can listen to us at fairfieldcountytalkradio.com. Visit sharkcreative.com for all podcasts and download our Fairfield County Talk Radio app on iTunes. We'll be back with more. Andrew, again, great to see you. Talk soon.
Thanks, Andrew. Take care.